voting finally done at the ANC's Eastern Cape elective conference. That's at least for the top 5 positions. This comes after the numerous delays and disputes that have threatened to collapse the gathering. The province is the party's second or third largest province, and the outcomes of this particular conference could have serious implications for the party's leadership race in December. Let's speak now to Professor Mcebisi Ndletyana. He is a political analyst with the University of Johannesburg. Prof, good morning to you. Thank you very much for your time. I have been listening to some of what you have had to say about this particular conference, in particular the delays that have characterized the Eastern Cape elective conference. Of course, that's nothing new. It's become part and parcel of what we have come to know of ANC conferences. But you have used the word that this proves just how disfigured the ANC has become. So how ugly are things for this party?
Well, Connie, it's an old problem. Not much has changed. The ANC has processes. You know, for instance, if you didn't do a PGM properly, you need to redo it. There are officials that are sent from regional offices, for instance, to oversee the process. They knew that they had to do these things, have these meetings again 2 weeks ago. And they know the template. It's something they do routinely, and yet they didn't. And the reason for that is because they were cooking up numbers. They were trying to get around rules. There were shenanigans trying to use against each other. And this implicates both offices, Luthuli House, as well as the PEC or the task team, as well as the RECs. Because the rules are clear. For instance, Oscar has been complaining that he's had a number of meetings with Paul Mashatile, for instance, and Nomvula Mokonya. They've had these meetings to present these complaints that they have. And in those meetings, promises were made, decisions were apparently taken, but they were never implemented. So you see there's a deliberate stalling of processes here to give one faction against the other a favor, right? So it's the same thing, and it's a serious indictment in that you have this thing 5 years into a renewal process, what is supposed to be a renewal process. So not much has changed. So for me, it just shows how disfigured it still is, probably. I don't think it can become worse than this, but my point is that it hasn't changed much. We are still where we were in 2017.
Yeah. The chairperson of the party on Saturday addressing the gathering, Prof, and just to paraphrase some of what he had to say, that the ANC has become arrogant and detached from the people of South Africa, and really decrying what the ANC has become, particularly as it claims to be the leader of society. It goes without saying, Professor Ndletyana, that the voting that has just concluded is for the top 5 positions. The rest of the leadership is going to be voted in later. But the understanding is that just as this conference finally got underway in the early hours of last night, you are going to then have the president of the party coming to close a conference that has not even debated policy issues. And so these conferences are simply about leadership positions that are heavily contested. What proof is there that the ANC really is trying to renew itself, as you've already referred, but perhaps more importantly, the leadership qualities of the people that are contesting this particular province or this particular conference, just the 2 chairpersons? If you were to look for any qualities, are any of these 2 contenders, do they possess anything that will take the ANC to the next level?
It's a very poor slate. It's a lineup of very inglorious figures, as I say, in both slates. For instance, in that Matikizela slate, you have a fellow called Terry Ntutu, something like that. He was involved in fraud. He's the chairperson of one of the regions. Involved in fraud in 2018 or so. 2 people have since been killed among those who are accused of that crime. 1 business person and the city manager. They died in car accident, unrelated car accidents. What a coincidence. And the amount involved in those contracts is more than 30 million rand. Fortunately, he applied for his case to be struck off the roll, and they seem to have done that on a technicality. But the case remains. So you have terrorists in the slate with that checkered background. And for some reason, judges in the Eastern Cape don't seem to think that this is urgent to do. 2 people died, more than 30 million stolen, right? Then you come to Lungisa. Lungisa is a notorious figure in PE, distinguished himself by recruiting criminals into the ANC to intimidate members, to initiate fraudulent contracts, to reward criminals who were part of his militia force, so to speak, because he wanted to be a big man there. They didn't want to elect him, so he thought he was going to push them out and intimidate members into voting for him. So he arranged for this tender, 21 million. They got it. And because thieves are thieves, criminals are criminals, they started killing each other. You had ANC members being terrorized by criminals, being kicked out of offices, officials being kicked out, forced to sign this fraudulent tender. And when they eventually succeeded, the kickback, this tender that was then handed over to the criminals, they started fighting amongst each other. So you had a number of assassinations. Lungisa is someone who doesn't care for rules. He has this inflated sense of self-importance. So if you have figures like that, people who have no respect for rules, they want to dominate at all costs. So you are likely to have these kinds of shenanigans. Of course, you have Mcebisi as well, and Oscar, who are fingered in a report, a very thorough report by the OPP. And this report actually provides evidence, trails of monies that get into their accounts, monies gotten from fraudulent invoices. So this is not a rumor. So they have taken this report to court. They are challenging it. That's why they are here today.
Yeah.
But you would have expected that the ANC would say, especially their commission, would have said, with this kind of evidence that we have in front of us, really, you are not introducing a new conversation, a new debate.
Yeah.
Your being here reminds society of the kind of challenges we still have as the ANC. So to have 2 leading candidates for this province, supposedly a home of legends, is a serious indictment, Polly. It just shows that renewal is still rhetorical. It's still empty. I don't know how much time you have, because there's this one thing I want to tell you. If you decide to renew a party, you must put together a team. From 2017, they said, we are going to change things around.
Yeah.
So put together a team and think, what does it take to change things around? What are the strategic areas in the ANC where you want to place your cadres? Lutuli House was one of those. So after 2017, Cyril and his team put together Senzo Mchunu as well as Fikile Mbalula there, and Ace complained that he was being checked, right? Checked, rather. And they knew that Ace was not in support of reform. So they had to put together a team to ensure that branches and structures are set up and run properly. But after the elections, 2019, Mchunu and Mbalula left Lutuli House. They went for the posh positions of minister, right? So they left behind Mukonyane, Gigaba, and Van Rooyen. And today, just last week rather, they've been complaining that no, Mukonyane is cooking up the books. But they should have been there, standing guard at Lutuli House. Mukonyane is not doing something that is out of character for her. She did this in 2017 where 23 or 27 votes just disappeared, right? So if you have someone like Mukonyane there who has a history of manipulating numbers, why would you not make sure that you have someone in your team to make sure that things are run properly. They didn't have that. What they were concerned about are their own salaries, their prominence, celebrity of ministerial position, instead of focusing on this project that they have.
Yeah.
Turning around the ANC is not going to be easy. You need to have a dedicated team, place people on their spots, in their positions, and they must be committed to that. So this is just a slogan. Those who purport to believe in it are not willing to put in the work, the sacrifices to get things done. So that is why we are here today, 5 years down the line, because this is just a slogan. The president goes around saying, no, we are renewing this and that, but his cadres, his teams, or rather his team members are not there to do the work.
Professor Mcebisi Ndletyana, thank you very much for that insight. It's really a terrible situation that is unfolding as far as the ANC is concerned.